I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Real Estate Realities with the Rebel Broker. My name's Robert Whitelaw, and I am the Rebel Broker. Licensed real estate broker in the state of California, member of the National Association of Realtors. But please, don't hold that against me. Welcome to it. It's the beginning of another week. Very exciting, I'm sure. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. As always, please feel free to contact me through the website at www.therebelbroker.com. Just click the Contact the Rebel Broker link in the upper right-hand corner. Feel free to offer up any ideas, suggestions, observations, or questions that you might have, and I will be happy to reply. Thanks again to those of you who go to the trouble of sending me messages, asking questions. I love the interaction. I love the questions that I get asked. Also kind of inspired to see how many people were on one side or the other of the fence relating to derivatives that we talked about last week. And I'll tell you, I am still absolutely in discovery mode on all of this stuff. I want to make sure I'm not going off on some crazy tangent. But when you add up all the derivatives, it adds up more than all the U.S. currency in circulation. It adds up more than the GDP of a whole bunch of different nations, including the United States. It's so much money that it's just mind-boggling to even consider it. And the more I look at it, the less happy I am, the less comforted I am by what these things are. And they are basically, if you took the same mindset that got us screwed up in 2007, 2008, and you gave all of those people cocaine, this is the kind of financial idea that they'd come up with. This I'm indestructible kind of vibe built on the stupidity that created the last bubble we had to live through. So there's a happy thought for Monday, and keep those messages coming in. You guys are sending all kinds of interesting stuff. It gets the conversation going different directions, and I do truly appreciate that. So thank you very much, and thank you for participating. I love the give and take, and for those of you who go to the trouble of doing it, I enjoy it greatly. So thank you very much. And of course, as always, we are still pushing the survey for the demographics of the audience. If you go to the website, again, www.therebelbroker.com, big red button at the top says something along the lines of take the survey to support the show, answer the 5 to 7 questions, and that's it. And you've done the show a great service in helping me make the show really what I focus my time on, so that I can offer you more things, not just the show itself, but more interesting things included in the show, plus off-show things. Gives me time to do a lot of the things I've talked about on the show in terms of doing video how-tos and other kinds of cool stuff. So anyway, that's what it's all about. It's about pushing it to the point where it can actually be sort of a self-sustaining thing and helps me spend more time on it so I can bring you a better product. And that's what it's all about. So today, I wanted to try to, one thing I like to do is try to find places for you to accomplish things without spending any money, or spending as little money as possible. So what better way? What better way to do that than to leverage off of someone else who has spent literally thousands and thousands of dollars to get information on what folks want to buy, and then have you get it for free? Would that be valuable to you in one way or another? And here's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about model homes. Now, this may not be obvious right off the bat, but one thing that happens when model homes get built is they tend to spend an awful lot of money on all kinds of things that is based on the psychology of buyers. They're all about color palettes. They're all about the tchotchkes. They're all about making each and every space within the home be as appealing as possible. So why not take advantage of that? Why not take all of those resources, all of that expertise, all that money that's been spent to accumulate that information, that wisdom, and use it for yourself. Sounds like a good deal, right? Well, here we go. We're going to talk, and what got me thinking down these lines is this is something that I think I kind of do subconsciously. I go to model homes whenever I can. Frankly, whenever there's a new development here in Morgan Hill, sometimes I'll go to the ones in San Martin. There's never anything in San Martin, but if there's ever one in Gilroy, I'll hit that one too. I like to see what they're doing. What are these interior design folks putting together? What kind of color palettes are they using? How are they decorating the rooms? Those types of things. In addition, obviously, to seeing the real estate, because I do love that. But it's if you walk out of there with some notes or some photos, no one in any of these homes is going to give you flack for going into these places and taking photos. Why? Because they're not thinking you're stealing their ideas. They're thinking you're taking photos to send to the wife, the husband, the mom, the dad, so that they can then give feedback on how wonderful it would be for you to buy this house. So here's what I'm going to suggest. And this is something you can do whether you want to sell your house or not. Let's say you just want to give your house a facelift and you absolutely 100% completely suck at figuring out how to paint your rooms, how to decorate your rooms, what patterns are good to use now, what fixtures are hot right now. You're going to figure out an awful lot of that, or you're going to get an awful lot of insights into that simply by spending a little quality time in a few of the not open houses, but model homes in your area. And here's what I'm going to suggest you do. Pick ones that kind of offer the same level of home that you're in. I'm talking about in terms of bedroom square footage, that type of thing, and above, because you're going to find that some of the most of the touches in the model homes tend to be a step up, right, from what the normal folks will end up buying when they come in and actually buy a home in those developments. And what I want you to do is not just go in there and look at palettes. I want you to be looking at everything. Anything that catches your eye is interesting, because remember, these guys are going to, again, a ton of trouble to put together spaces that are going to be as attractive as possible. So let's go over what the article has to say in terms of ideas to steal from a model home. And then we'll sort of lather on a little bit of rebel broker magic. We'll put a little bit of my mojo on it, and we'll see if we can come up with a little bit more that we can pull from the marrows of these model home bones. Now, number one on their list is color. To quote their story directly, the color is, by and large, not used large scale, meaning all the walls of every room won't typically be painted in bold or bright colors. Of course, right? We've talked about this before. Just like I've suggested, if you're going to repaint your home, if you're going to try to list it, you're looking for broadest level of appeal. So you're not necessarily going for those super bright pinks or that neon orange color. That kind of stuff doesn't typically fly. It's not to say those colors don't fly at all as accent pieces. You'll frequently find that in some rooms, some of these model homes will use some very eye-catching color as an accent color, but it's exceptionally rare for a room to get painted in that way. If you're looking for design ideas of palettes that go super well together, this is going to be a great way to go. If you're looking for someone to create that absolutely unique thing, and starting with paint, you're probably not going to find those ideas or those suggestions within a model home, because remember, they're going with what the most popular things are at the time that the model home is being shown. Number two, quote, the main color scheme generally flows from room to room. The shades and placement of color may be different, but there's a coherent look and feel throughout the home that makes it feel finished. So let's talk about that for a second, because I actually think that's a pretty interesting one. And what's also interesting is how this is accomplished. So let's go ahead and start with a room like, say, your living room, where the walls may be painted one color and the trim another. But the palette is very complementary. And then in another room, that may be reversed. You may find that the trim is colored the wall color from the other room, but the wall is colored the trim color from the other room. A lot of times people don't even consciously acknowledge that this switch has happened, but it feels like those rooms go together, and the trick that has happened is that the palette that's being used has communicated that to you. They go on to say, if you want to introduce color without covering every surface, consider these tips from Lennar, the builder people. You can add color to a space without painting walls. Pop color with pillows, rugs, flowers, and artwork. If you do add color to walls, use it sparingly. A painted feature wall can be a great backdrop for a bed or built-in cabinets. So again, tends to be accent pieces. General design inspirations. You may not have thought about putting certain colors together or layering a bunch of patterns in one room or choosing tile that looks like wood instead of real wood, but you will once you see what they've done in model homes. If you're in a design rut or you're not sure how to take the first step toward modernizing your space, walk through the models. Consider not just what you see, but how you feel in the space. Starting to feel relaxed or anxious or at home in a particular room? Take note of the color scheme, the organization of the furniture and the accessories, and then take lots of pictures so you can start trying to replicate the look and feel in your home. This is probably going to be the hardest part for you because you're going to walk into a room and you're going to like it, and it may be really difficult to put your finger on what makes it work so well for you. I've got to be honest. I've been in some model homes where I literally said to myself, I wish I could take this room and plop it down in my house. And you need to sort of, and I agree with the multiple pictures idea. You need to try to understand what it is, what's pulling this room together that's making you feel so warm and fuzzy. And keep in mind also, this didn't happen by accident. This was an absolute design decision by the folks who put together what these model homes are going to look at. And imagine the power of that for you as a tool. It doesn't mean you have to be a design genius. It doesn't mean you have to go pay for thousands and thousands of dollars worth of psychological research of what is pushing people one direction or another. For you, it's a two-sided thing. One is, I want to stay in this house and I simply want to love staying in it, and this helps you do that. Or it's the other side of the coin. I want to make this home draw in the highest amount of money possible when I try to sell it, which is exactly the goal of the model home. That's the model home is designed to do. So you're basically taking the ideas from that model home and translating them over. Now, here's the next one, and this one can sometimes be very subtle. They talk about incorporating the newest trends, and they go on to say, looking to redo your kitchen? Touring a model home will give you some great ideas about how to handle the layout and materials. It may not have occurred to you to take down your double height island and continue the counter height the full length, but this is a hot kitchen trend intended to capture the open space feel. Seeing all white cabinets may inspire you to have your dark wood cabinetry painted, and the quartz counters are sure to inspire you to start researching new countertop options. Yes, all that is valid, but I want you to also see how the more subtle things affect you. Some of the things that I think folks often don't notice, but are a big deal in kitchens, the fixtures that are used for lighting. There's a lot of really cool, interesting fixtures out there in terms of kitchen lighting right now. And I think at first a lot of people don't even get it. You know, I've had people where I've pointed out to them that the classic 80s recessed fluorescent lighting is in a room. Right? And that's usually something you don't get at first. You just, at some point after you've bought the home, you go, you know, I don't like the way I feel in the kitchen. Well, it's because you've got crappy fluorescent lights in there. And one of the things that you can really do to rejuvenate a room like the kitchen where you spend so much of your time is to focus on really improving that lighting. And this is going to be a great place for you to see a few of the trends, which can be recessed lighting, amazing hanging fixtures over work areas, and under cabinet and in cabinet accent lighting. Now, the under cabinet stuff tends to do a dual purpose. It's usually something that is task oriented. But if you're going with a more modern feel, let me suggest for all of this lighting, for all of the in cabinet and under cabinet lighting, stay focused on LEDs. And let me explain why. Your options today in LEDs are ridiculously awesome. You can, and I mean that in every way. Anything that you would want to do with a light, you can tend to do with the newer LED light options. You can get an LED light where you can change the color of the lighting. You can change the intensity. You can you can have it slowly fade in and out if you want, almost like a heartbeat. For the in-cabinet lighting, that's also extremely valuable. And then, of course, you want to get good task lighting that's going to allow you to do what you need to do in the kitchen, but help not drain the life out of you like so much fluorescent lighting can do right now. So pay attention to that. Don't just take shots of the floor and the counters. Take shots of that ceiling. What kind of recessed lighting do they have? What kind of fixtures do they have? Make sure to pay attention to all of that, including the fixtures for the faucets. Those are also very cool things, and those are things you're going to want to pay attention to as well. All right, now we're going to go ahead and jump into the rest of this list in just a minute, but let's take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Are you ready to jump in and start your search for your first investment property? Maybe you've decided that it's time to own your own home, or maybe you're ready to sell your home and move on to something new. No matter what your goal is, the Rebel Broker can help. That's right, aside from hosting this show, I am also the owner-broker of Whitelaw & Sons Real Estate Services right here in Silicon Valley. With over 25 years experience serving Silicon Valley, Morgan Hill, San Martin, and Gilroy, I or one of my great agents can help you achieve your goals in real estate. So if you're ready to look into taking that next step towards achieving your real estate goals, point your browser at www.soldbyrobert.com. That's www.soldbyrobert.com and get in touch. Let me show you how I will earn your business and your respect. Again, that's www.soldbyrobert.com, or you can call me at 408-852-0525. California Bureau of Real Estate ID 00984-909. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We're talking about how to steal multi-$1,000 ideas without going to jail and making use of them in your house by taking advantage of model homes and some of the design choices that have been made for those places that you can transplant into your home. Whether you want to use those ideas just to make your home more livable for you, to make it a place you enjoy being more, or to turn it into a place that you can then turn around and sell for the highest amount of money in the shortest amount of time for the best possible terms. Now, we left off with a lot of kitchen suggestions in terms of what you might find there. Next is treating small spaces, and I would also consider this funky space planning. One thing that I have noticed in most modern model homes is that if they are faced with odd areas, they usually provide some kind of awesome ways to treat those areas. And some of these might be oddly shaped loft areas, weirdly shaped rooms, exceptionally small rooms. They oftentimes come up with these fantastic ways to really suck the most out of the functionality of a room or space that's oddly shaped. So always go and check these out. Now, some of your higher-end model homes aren't going to have oddly shaped rooms, and higher-priced homes tend to not have odd, small rooms. But in that mid-price range, you tend to always find at least one floor plan that's got some sort of funky thing going on with it that may emulate a funky thing that's going on in your home. And just take time to notice how they're treating oddly shaped spaces or small spaces or spaces that are awkward for whatever reason. Now, they obviously are talking about specifically in this particular article how they treat small spaces. It goes on to state, in general, the less crowded a room is, the more airy it will feel, but that doesn't mean leaving it empty. Furniture placement is key to creating a space with form and function. Notice how the office in the room above, and they obviously you can't see it, has just the right amount of furniture, and instead of placing the desk up against the wall, it's been floated, which allows the eye to more easily move around and makes the space feel larger. So yeah, they have a relatively smaller space here with not a horribly wide desk. I would call this an average size desk. It's the style where when you sit, you probably have drawers on the left side and the right side, so maybe a medium-sized desk. But it's placed in such a way that actually makes the room feel just well-proportioned. It doesn't feel odd. Now, it's helped in this particular example by the height of the walls. There's dramatically high ceilings in this particular room. But again, something to pay attention to, because if you are a person who owns a room with unusually high ceilings, this is all being considered in the design of these new homes, and this decoration in the model home is going to be designed to take the greatest advantage of those features and make it look as appealing as possible to folks who are going to be looking at these for possible purchase. Next on their list, getting space planning tips. Model home designers are great at disguising awkward spaces with creative solutions and showcasing spaces with furniture that's to the perfect scale and placed in such a way that it shows the room in its best light. If you've got a weird spot in your home that you don't know what to do with, or are having trouble figuring out with what furniture to buy or where to put it, studying what they've done in a few models might help you figure it out. So let's take this a step further. So much of this is ratios. So what can we learn? Oftentimes what you need to do less than actually measure a room, because you might say, well, Robert, my room isn't the exact proportions of this room, so it doesn't really help me. Even though I see they're putting a smaller desk or an appropriately sized desk, my room's got different sets of sizes and distances between the walls, so it's not going to work. So what wisdom can you draw from a model home? Well, in this particular example, what I would do is take the measurement of the entire width of the room and find out the ratio of the width of the desk to the width of the room, because that's really what's defining the pleasurable view, the pleasurable feeling you get of scale when you look at that room. So use that as your guide, not, I need to find a desk of exactly 70 inches wide. I need to find a desk that takes up 30% of the floor space from wall to wall, right? It's more of a ratio. It's more of a relationship than specific numbers. So if you get down that number, you're learning something that folks went to college to figure out, which is in a room of this X dimension, you should leave this amount of airspace around certain things, right? But you're learning it from example, and hopefully these are examples you can really readily apply to your particular situation. Next, styling a guest room, or for that matter, any other room. If you go into a model home, you find that they are doing some interesting stuff. We talked about this the other day in terms of getting ideas from a model home for a kid's room. You can stand in any guest room in a model, just about anywhere, and it's simple, it's clean, and it's elegant. And it makes you feel comfortable in that room. It's about lighting, pared down accessories, and crisp bedding, according to this article. I think it actually goes a step further. These are also rooms where I think the palette is ridiculously important, and tying the elements within the room into it. In the example, they have a photo here in this article, which again, you'll be able to get a link to it if you go to my website, www.therebelbroker.com. Check out the show notes. There'll be a link to this article. And you can see what they're doing in terms of tying things together. And what's really interesting is the one I happen to be looking at. Blue is clearly the color that's being used to tie everything together. It ties in the wall, it ties in the pillows, it ties in the comforter, and it ties in a throw rug on the floor. And it feels like all this stuff goes together. But they've also done interesting terms with texture in terms of how they've treated the wall with what looks like some stained lumber, and putting a big pink or salmon-colored letter of the alphabet on the wall, obviously supposed to represent the name of the kid who lives in this room, right? So those are the accent touches that we're talking about in terms of colors that you wouldn't want to paint an entire room, but that make great accent pieces. And those are all great ways to go. And again, stuff you can literally take a photo of and rip off and place right in your house for really not a whole lot of money. These are ideas that typically you can translate into reality for you without spending anywhere near what you would spend if you had someone coming in to try and do it for you. And again, we talked about some places last week that you can go to that'll give you access to some stylish stuff at a low price, including Target and a few other places. And this is a great connection. This is a great way to connect getting the stuff you need with the ideas to know what you need to get in the first place. So put those two together and see what you can make happen in your own home. Next on their list, getting your kids' rooms just right. Quote, kids' rooms are often some of the most challenging spaces to design because it's a slippery slope between a creative space and a circus room. Model home designers love to theme these spaces or give them some pizzazz, and they often get the balance just right. And you'll know it when you walk in the room. I'm not going to suggest that you're going to go into these model homes and be blown away every single time. Doesn't always happen. However, if you're going to ones that are from some of the bigger builders, I'm typically pretty impressed by what I see. And particularly if you go, and this is one reason why I suggest going to ones that are priced a little bit above the average for the community, because those tend to be ones where a little bit more time and money has been invested in really going the extra step in terms of designing the internals of the model home to be as attractive as possible to potential buyers. Kids' rooms, I think, are fantastic, and a lot of that's going to depend on your kid, right? If you have a baby, that's a whole different story. If you have a child who enjoys some certain thing, right? One of the great themes that I see repeated over and over again for what are supposed to be little boys' rooms in model homes tends to be either baseball or sailing or boats, right? And those are kind of the go-to ones. And you can apply those exact same kinds of ideas to whatever your child is most interested in. And it's interesting how they will sort of layer these things on to tie the room together. And you don't need to get as caught up in the specifics, particularly when you're trying to put a room together for a specific individual like your son or your daughter. But the design ideas or how the room gets pulled together, if you can really suss that out, if you can take some photos, look at the room, and really dissect what's making that room work, you can absolutely take those same ideas and translate them into the room in your home where you'd like to apply the same idea. So head on out there, find yourself some new construction, head over to those model homes and see what kinds of great ideas you can pull out of there that can either make your home far more marketable or can make your home far more comfortable and attractive for you. Turn it into a place where you love hanging out because all of the different elements are pulled together and you feel comfortable in each and every room. Again, thank you all for making this show a part of your daily routine. If you've got a couple of extra minutes, in addition to filling out that great little survey we talked about at the top of the show, if you could also head on over to iTunes or whatever tool you use to consume the show and give us some stars, a review, smiley faces, whatever the method is in the particular tool you use, I would appreciate it. That's how the show grows. It's how more people find out about it, by more people sort of giving it reviews and also rating it. So if you could take a little time out of your day for that, I would be appreciative. Of course, as always, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to y'all next time.